Let's talk about design. No, I'm not talking about UI, UX design, or home design, or blueprint, or anything like that. I'm talking about organizational design. How does the design of your organization look, and how well does it implement the ability to build the product that you so hopefully want to build? Hi there, my name is Dacy, otherwise known as Big Agile. Today, I would like to talk about that organizational design and share with you a story of a real life customer. So instead of lecturing to you, I thought I would tell a story working with a retailer, and we'll just say it's like a Costco, Walmart, Tesco, wherever you are in the world. Just think of some big retailer that can do just about anything or sell just about anything. Now, the goal of, let's say, like Costco, any of y'all that have been to Costco, I don't know if you suffer this same problem. I'll go to Costco, I'll walk in, and I love Costco, by the way. And I look around and there's nobody at the checkout counter. It's only great. I'm going to breeze through all of this, get everything that I need, and check out. But ultimately, what happens is when I get my turn to check out, the line's long again. Does that ever happen to y'all? Maybe it's just me. But at any rate, imagine you're the general manager at Costco, and your goal is to create an awesome customer experience, not only in the way of the products that you sell and the organization of the store, but also how the customers can flow through the checkout. They have a lot of checks and balances at Costco, and that's great. You got to buy your stuff, then you got to check out, and they check your receipt at the store and all that. But just imagine you're the general manager and you want to make that experience as seamless as possible. Now, the problem we have, like at a Costco, is they sell bulk wholesale type goods. And so what'll happen is you'll buy a loaf of bread and you'll get to the checkout counter. And next thing you know, they're like, oh, sir, you actually get 2 loaves of bread. And so then you have to pause the line and go grab another loaf of bread. And it just becomes this disaster with everybody kind of going through that. You've got cracked eggs, you need more toilet paper, you get 2 things with that. So the general manager looks at that. And I had a real life scenario of this before where the general manager was like, hey, at the checkout counter, it would be really cool if in the point of sale system, when you scan and the product comes up, let's say the loaves of bread, and they say, well, you only got 1 here, you actually get 2, that it would tell you the actual shelf, the aisle and the shelf that bread is on, so that they can send a runner and say, go to aisle 12, shelf 3, and get another bread of this brand. And then we can continue checking out. So if they did that across all of the checkout counters and had little runners that could go directly to the shelf and not hunt for it, then I think it would go a lot smoother. So the general manager's thinking about this. So now let's go into how does this apply to Agile? Well, at some point, Costco or whoever this customer might be has an IT technology group, the people that build the systems that support Costco and their warehouse distribution, finance and accounting, and all that good stuff. And so he finally contacts the IT group, and let's say they're trying to practice a process like Scrum, which would advocate for cross-functional teams that are working in small iterations, trying to get a usable product increment delivered so we can inspect it. So he contacts him and says, hey, I've got a great idea for this point of sale system. And he describes the feature. You scan it, it comes up, it shows you the shelf, the aisle, how much is on hand. Seems like a pretty quick thing to integrate into the point of sale system. So at any rate, the project manager or whoever takes that call says, that sounds like a great idea, general manager. Let's go and talk to platform services. So Costco or whoever this customer is has a platform services team. And the general manager describes the problem to that person. Who's kind of over the platform engineering. They're like, oh my gosh, that's a great idea. We would love to be able to accommodate you on that. And they're really excited about it. So what I'm getting to here is how has this retailer organized teams and backlogs to minimize dependencies and bottlenecks across the whole organization? So I'm going to give you an example of this. And just for the sake of argument here, we're going to call this the by and large company. Right? So by and large company, I basically stole this from Wall-E, if you've ever seen that movie before. And we're going to talk about by and large. And what's going to happen here is that they're going to shepherd this general manager through the process and say, okay, well, we've got to talk to the enterprise platform team. the enterprise platform team will say, that's a great idea. They usually have quite a few people. They support just about everything there is in the organization, and they are excited about that feature. So they place it about number 3 in this product backlog. Now, mind you, they're practicing Scrum. So they have these product groups. They have teams of people working on this backlog. So enterprise platform team is excited about that, but the project manager says, or the product owner, I guess, if we're practicing Scrum for enterprise platform, says, hey, it's a great idea, but you're gonna have to go talk to the payment processing team. The payment processing team handles all of the integration between the inventory and what's on hand. So we can surface that into the point of sale systems, but we're going to have to go talk to the payment processing team. So we march on over to the product owner of the payment processing team, and they say things like, that's a great idea, but we got a lot of stuff ahead of you on that related to actual payments. So we'll get down to it maybe in the next 2 or 3 quarters. And now we're feeling a little deflated. General manager's not too excited about their feature anymore, but they actually say you're going to have to go talk to the database team. And the database team is going to have to make some changes before we can do it. Now, I'm a database person by technology trade. And usually this is a small group of people, highly specialized, 3 or 4 maybe people. That's all there is. And every change we have to do kind of comes through the database team if it's related to data. So guess what happens when we go to the product owner of the data team? We love that idea, but we're just too busy. That's going to go in the bottom of the list. We really can't tell you when that's going to be done. So they also say you're going to have to go talk to the active record team. You're going to go have to talk to the Salesforce team, and Salesforce team is busy, servicing finance, accounting, inventory, all these other things. So my point to you here is highlighting this idea that the general manager had a really cool idea. He was trying to really help his customers, but the technology group was so focused on the applications, and they design their teams around the layers of the product or the applications, the components, which now require the people who have these ideas to jump through hoops to finally get a feature deployed out to the point of sale team. So when I mention organizational design, what I'm really referring to is, have we organized teams and backlogs to minimize dependencies and bottlenecks? I love Scrum, but you're only going to be so good in your Scrum team if you're handing off components to other teams. You're going to find problems much later in the process. You're really just building inventory. And anybody that's in retail knows we don't want a bunch of inventory sitting around. Now in software, it's really dangerous because we don't see it as bad. And it comes back to bite us infinitely when it goes bad. So what I want to talk about now is, okay, well, let's say they hire a consultant or a coach in Agile, and they say, hey, how would we handle organizational design? So we would come in and say, well, who are your customers? Like, who are your stakeholders? Who are you building products for? And you know what often they'll say is, we don't build products. We're Costco or we're Walmart or whatever. Our product is retail. It's like, yeah, but your IT technology group, they build products. So who are your common stakeholders that could share a vision and align themselves on the infinite list of priorities on a finite team? So we would talk about that. And we say, well, we have an e-commerce product, where we try to merchandise things and people can sign on, membership rewards. We have the point of sale store systems. We have the inventory warehouse distribution systems. We have finance and accounting, HR, corporate communication, maybe even some internal IT like data center type team. And so what we would want to do is to align the product groups around as much of the common stakeholders as we could and as much of the large amount of work that they have. Obviously, if HR, corporate communication, finance, and accounting didn't have enough work to foster a few teams, we'd have to put them together on one team, but at least they weren't so far divergent on their stakeholder needs, they could probably do that. But if you try to do something like that, how often are all those stakeholders going to agree on the top priorities? So we would want to have one product backlog per product group, as it would be, and then we can start practicing Scrum in that case. And so then we could say, well, there's multiple teams per backlog. There could be one product owner, one Scrum master, things like that. And that way that those common stakeholders could align themselves on the priorities, and then we could feed those into multiple teams that are sharing a common cadence, a common definition of done, common estimating technique, and also the highly specialized shared people within that product group. And we would typically move a little bit faster. So now if we replay how that general manager would go through the process if we had a better organizational design, then we could say, you need to go see the point of sales product owner. And so they would go to the point of sales product owner and they would go, common stakeholders would be other general manager, like, oh, that's a fantastic idea. We could put it up to the top. And all of our teams have the proper skills and abilities to actually see that feature all the way to delivery. And so a lot of times we will use this word, we have Scrum teams, we're practicing Scrum, but we've only done it in so much of the name. And that's okay sometimes. If that's how you're getting started, I mean, I applaud that. Start somehow. But we have to take it to another level at some point in organizational design. If we don't do that correctly, Scrum will be very painful in your team, which it's doing its job. It will expose that problem. But we have to take it to another level. So next time you and your organization are thinking about practicing Agile and Scrum, have you thought about it to that next level and thought about the organizational design? Trying to make silos, I know that's a bad word, but silos of work that don't have to cross teams very often. Every now and then we'll get a feature that'll have to cross the entire organization. But for the most part, we want the teams to be able to handle their dependencies and handoffs within the team and then within teams of teams in that organization. And that is how we can be agile in organizational design.